Hey, everybody. Welcome to our third week of Sabbath Day equipping. Um, I hope the process of trying out the spiritual discipline of the Sabbath, of practicing it, has been helpful for you. Hope you've been taking some risks. The Sabbath is an adventure, it's not a systematic approach to living. It's a relational experience of trying to connect ourselves to a story involving God, a story that he knit together in the fabric of creation, that on the seventh day he rested and he called it holy. So there's not going to be a right way to do it. It's going to be a process of relationship, which can feel like failure sometimes. It can feel deeply connecting others. So I really hope that you just continue to take risks. Today, what we're talking about centers on the importance of embracing. All right, get ready for it. It's an edgy word, it's not a church word. Sensuality. And sensuality is in fact, let me just look up a definition here. So, sensuality is related to the gratification of the senses and the indulgence of appetite. It's related to our physical nature. Sensuality is experiencing the world around us through our senses, connecting to our bodies, which we understand from scripture with the way that God made us, to also be connected to our heart, to also be connected to our soul. So the body is important, and sensuality is a part of how we experience God's goodness. And sensuality can be as simple as drinking a cup of coffee and just smelling the grounds, tasting the warmth and the bitterness and all the other notes of the beans that you may have ground that you're drinking, or just the notes of Folgers. But sensuality is actually experiencing it, letting your body connect to the world around you in a way that points us. A holy sensuality should point us to the maker of our bodies, to the maker of the coffee beans, to the maker of the world. And so one particular area that I think is really important for us to practice sensuality on the Sabbath is in creation. I'm going to read to you from Romans 1. It describes creation as it relates in this case to how all people have the knowledge of the Creator. That creation is actually designed to point people to the Creator, so no people can have an excuse that they just didn't know enough about God, because we all have creation, and creation tells us a story. So this is Romans 1, verse 19. They know the truth about God because he made it obvious to them. For ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky. Through everything God made, they can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power, and divine nature. So they have no excuse for not knowing God. Creation tells us about God. So then when you go into creation, when you go on a walk on the Sabbath, when you look at really how creation invites us into this sensual experience. I mean, come on, fall, the smell in the air, the colors on the leaves. Creation is like seducing us into this holy experience of being drawn into the presence of God. Creation is inviting us. Creation is pulling on our heartstrings, pulling on our senses, pulling on our sensual experience of itself, in order to show us and tell us a story about who God is. Creation tells us about God. So it's so deeply important that on the Sabbath you have a sensual experience of creation. Touch a leaf, look at the fibers in the leaf, run your hands through a bush, look at the wetness, the dew on the grass, smell the air. What do these things tell us about God? As you're experiencing creation, the sensual experience of creation, ask that question. God, what are you telling me about yourself right now? Does he want to tell you about his extravagant love? That beauty is a part of who he is, and beauty is a part of who you are. What does God want to tell you about himself? What does God want to tell you about yourself? And creation is going to be a really important part of that. I'm going to read you all one more verse, and then I'm just going to invite you to go and practice that this upcoming Sabbath day. Whenever you practice it, whether it's Saturday or Sunday or another day of the week. This is Psalm 96. The psalmist writes, "Let the heavens be glad and the earth rejoice. Let the sea and everything in it shout his praise. Let the fields and their crops burst out with joy. Let the trees of the forest rustle with praise before the Lord, for he is coming." Creation tells us a story about God. Creation invites us back into that experience of what God made in the Garden of Eden. Do you realize he made trees? He made people. He made physical things that were meant to tell a story about him and about the people he created. And then again, as we've talked about previous weeks, the Sabbath also invites us to reflect on what's still to come. The new heaven and new earth, the new garden that we see in Revelation, also a physical experience. And creation is telling us a story. Creation is rustling its leaves. Creation is dying in order to resurrect again, all so that we can understand who God is, declaring his existence, his presence, his love for us until he comes again. So I hope you can do it. Take a risk again this upcoming Sabbath and have a sensual experience of creation and of the things around you.